All right, and welcome everyone. Welcome to the live stream. For those of you who are joining us on LinkedIn, we're actually live streaming to LinkedIn for the very first time. So I'm hoping that there are no kinks here, but as with anything that happens for the first time, usually there's some kind of technical error. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube, welcome to our channel, Toby Marketing and Media. This is the second presentation we were doing in a series really focused on the wellness and healthcare verticals. And the last series that we did was really around identifying areas that really growing and scaling small business founders of wellness and healthcare brands make when they're trying to grow and invest in marketing. Today, we're going to kind of move a little bit off of that and kind of elaborate more and talk about actually how to stop wasting when it comes to growth and in digital marketing. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Andrew Hong. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Toby. We're a digital agency based in Salt Lake City, Utah. I started my career in the consulting world, but actually pivoted to digital marketing in around 2009 because I was moonlighting as a DJ and started running Facebook ads to get more people to come to my DJ gigs. And sure enough, it worked. And that kind of gave me enough confidence to kind of move in and move away from consulting and to start focusing on digital marketing. So I was a freelance digital marketer from about 2009 to 2015, 2016. And in 2016, I launched our agency, Toby. And really, we're a digital agency that focuses on local SEO, paid media, and content marketing for small to medium-sized businesses across healthcare, wellness, real estate, and professional services. So I've worked with hundreds of brands across thousands of projects over the last 15, close to 20 years, and got a lot of insight to share with founders and small business owners of growing and scaling companies, not just in healthcare and wellness, but in a lot of other verticals as well. But we have a lot of clients in healthcare and wellness. It's a very big industry right now and a growing industry, a lot of attention on it. And so I wanted to share some of the insights that we've had from our health and wellness customers. We have, throughout this presentation, actually throughout this series, I'll be referencing a small business survey that we actually here at Toby put out at the end of 2024. We actually put out the survey data in Q4, got it all back and analyzed it at the end of the year. And basically what we did is we surveyed a number of small business founders, both our clients, but also we hired a market research panel firm to go out and find us small businesses that were in that sort of $1 to $5 million revenue range. You know, they have at least one in-house marketing team or staff. They've been in business at least 3 years, and if you kind of think about them, if you kind of profile them, they're what I would call a growing and scaling business that has been shown some success. They're relatively new. They're looking to grow. In general, they have all the kind of basics covered, right? When it comes to covering the foundational level things for marketing for small businesses. And we went out and put together this survey to really understand how efficient brands thought they were in terms of their media and marketing. And one of the biggest questions that really stuck out in my mind was this more general question that we put out around increased competition being a significant challenge to business growth. And as you can see here, 70+% of the respondents, right, basically said that they either strongly agree or somewhat agree that competition is a challenge to growing their businesses. And if you're a small business owner, just think about what's happened over the last 5 to 10 years, right? It's never been easier to start a business. A lot of people started businesses during COVID and during the pandemic, right? And no doubt about it, competition has only increased. And no matter how niched your industry is, I'm sort of seeing out there now that everything is kind of becoming a commodity. And then in order for you to really stand out and differentiate yourself from your competition, there's a lot of things that you've got to do from a marketing, media, and sales standpoint. So we're going to be referencing this survey data kind of throughout our presentation and today, and as well as the future presentations that we'll be doing. So when you see this age of efficiency mark and sort of the survey data, this is survey data that we actually put together and went out and got to drive some of these presentations. So, today we're going to talk a lot about how to stop waste, right? And, When I meet a lot of different brands in the sales process, when they are looking to hire a new agency and they reach out to us. And one of the biggest things that I need to do in my job in scoping the right engagement for our customers or potential customers is I need to figure out whether or not they're ready to invest in an agency like us, right? And when I first started the agency, and as you do, and a lot of times when you're an entrepreneur, you try to get whatever revenue you can, right? And I realized early on that, and even as I was, scaling our business, that not every small business is in the right place to hire an agency, right? And as with a lot of things in life, it all comes down to timing, right? When are you ready to invest in marketing? Right. And what happens a lot of times when founders or small business owners or small marketing teams are not ready to invest, but they end up saying like, I have to invest in marketing to get leads and to get customers, they basically end up lighting their money on fire. Right. And I think there's some real prerequisites that you need to think about as a small business owner, especially in the healthcare and wellness space, as you're thinking about starting to invest in marketing and really starting to scale up the things that you do to drive customer acquisition, but also patient and customer retention. So I kind of look at the stages, right, of a healthcare and wellness brand and how they invest. And I kind of break it down into 3 stages. You got level 1, level 2, and level 3. And really, if you're a small business owner, this can be applied to a lot of different small businesses out there, especially ones that provide some sort of services, right? So the first stage is really that kind of like startup and prove stage, right? You just started your practice. Maybe you are working full-time, at a full-time gig, and you're doing something part-time, right? And really during this stage, it's like most of us don't have a lot of capital. We don't have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of know-how when it comes to marketing, right? And this is one of the most dangerous phases to be investing in marketing, because a lot of times, if you haven't done a good job of fleshing out like who you are as a brand, what products and services you're going to sell, how you're going to price them, more importantly, what makes you different from all the clinics and practitioners that are out there, because there's certainly been a ton more entrants into the healthcare and wellness space over the last 5 years, right? And a lot of times I meet some of these founders who are hungry, they're ready to invest, they want to get going, and they want to start bringing in leads. But if they haven't done some of the foundational level work, it's usually not a good idea to work with them, because the agency will probably have to do the job of defining that messaging, helping them tell their story. And frankly, that's not cheap to do, right? And a lot of times in that level 1, you're not really investing in marketing, but what you're really investing in is your time to go out there and do sales, right? Going to hospitals, handing out business cards, partnering with other small businesses to host events, right? Working through your Rolodex to look for patients and actually ask for referrals to let them know that you got started. A lot of times in level 1, probably the biggest investment you want to make at this point is a website, right? But other than that, most of the driving the traffic to the website and getting awareness of the website really needs to be done by you, the founder, the entrepreneur, the owner, right? Now, I'll caveat this by saying that if you're like a level 1 and you've got some startup capital, right? You have some money to work with to invest in an agency, to invest in a website, to invest in some marketing up front, go ahead and do it. But just realize that there's going to be a decent gap between when you launch all these foundational level marketing things to when you get revenue, right? And so there's a gap between when you invest in marketing and when you actually see the ROI from that marketing. That's just something to keep in mind if you're just starting your practice out. From a level 2 perspective, these are kind of what I call the grow and scale practices. And this is actually the sweet spot where, at Toby, we really work with these brands, and a lot of the small business owners that and practice owners that answered our survey fit into this sort of level 2 grow and scale. And this is where, maybe you've just started your practice 2 or 3 years ago. You've gotten like pretty decent patient acquisition through word of mouth, right? You've hit the ground running. You're starting to have an operation built into your practice. Maybe you have a physical location. You might have a practice administrator, right, to help you out with your operations. And you might actually be doing telehealth, right? I've met so many really, really sharp entrepreneurs that are out there who started practice, who've acquired 1, 2, 3, 4,000 patients across the US because they had a really good telehealth practice and they got referrals from telehealth. So a lot of times in these kind of level 2 practices, whether they're med spa or hormone therapy, or wellness, whatever category you sort of fit in, these are the brands that are kind of doing like 1 to 5 million in revenue, right? They have a sort of consistent, stable sort of patient base. The founder is probably not so stressed about, earning cash for themselves and making a living for themselves, but they are probably pretty stressed about growing their practice and operating their practice, right? And in this level 2 sort of, phase for these practices, my recommendation is a lot of times I meet these folks who, they had a freelancer who they pay $500 to $1,000 a month to handle their website and do a little bit of their SEO, but it's not like a full SEO program, right? And a lot of times when I meet these practice owners, they're ready to kind of grow out of their existing relationship with their agency or their freelancer. And they're ready to start doing things like implementing marketing technology to allow for more automated, patient retention and patient nurturing, right? They start investing in things like, CRMs that are now integrating with their EMR, right? We do a lot of kind of go high level implementations or integrations with EMRs or EHRs. So in level 2, this is really where maybe you're starting to really consider, a more full service agency who might have a technology component to them as well, in addition to all the content and organic stuff. But during level 2, this is really where you start to have the cash flow. You have some earnings that you generated in the past that you can now start to invest in proper organic, paid, and content programs, which are truly kind of the foundation for any kind of scaling or growing business. When you're at level 1, you may not be able to start there, right? Because you might have the capital to invest in those things. But when level 2, now that you've generated some profits, you've kind of found your quote unquote product market fit or your fit with your overall persona, now you can start investing in these sorts of things. Level 3 is really where, these are the $5+ million practices. They've got multiple locations. They've got telehealth. They most likely have an in-house marketing team, right? And this is really where you start to optimize all your systems, your data. And one of the practices that we work with that are sort of in this level 3, they're using a lot of really intelligent data in order to be able to drive a much more customized and personalized patient retention journey. So, if they came in for weight loss and they completed a weight loss program, based on the data that you see in an EMR like OptiMantra, how can you tag them in a way that will allow you to nurture them with potential content that could upsell or cross-sell them on some of your other services like hormone therapy or, any other type of service that might be adjacent or related to weight loss, right? So that's really in level 3 is where you're really trying to maximize squeezing the dollars out of your existing patients. And maybe you're not as focused on acquisition, but really trying to improve your overall patient retention experience. Okay. So when we talk today and when you see a lot of the data that I'm going to present to you as we kind of go through like what small business brands and health and wellness are investing in, we're going to be looking at a lot of the data that really centered around these kind of level 2 brands, right? So first off is, when you think about investment, right? And a lot of times when we're thinking about how to stop waste, right? You sometimes need to make an investment in something to cut off the waste, right? And that whole idea of like making a bet on something to improve efficiency, right, is a big part of what we have to do and kind of make decisions on as entrepreneurs. So when you look at investments, right, and when you look at the survey data that we put together for a lot of these small business owners, we ask this question: which of the following marketing activities do you prefer to outsource rather than handle in-source? And these were kind of the top responses, right? Pay-per-click, content marketing, email marketing, social media, SEO, marketing technology, and CRM, right? So these are just examples of some of these scaling businesses, and where some of them are making investments to improve, like to improve what they're doing and to improve the kind of marketing that they're not capable of doing in-house, right? And frankly, like when I look at the services that we provide to a lot of those clients, it really is around paid SEO and content marketing, right? So there's no secrets out there. This is a really interesting piece of data that I presented in our last presentation. And really what we're trying to talk about here is, where do you believe your work with agencies and freelancers could be improved, right? And the thing that really stood out to me was around this idea of greater cost efficiency. That was by far the highest response that was received, right? And what that's telling me, even as an agency owner that works with a lot of these brands, is that when you think about waste, right? The worst feeling in the world is to be feeling like you're paying an agency to do work, right? That you can't get an ROI on, and that you feel like you're paying too much for. So I thought this was a very interesting response here, that, you know, a lot of folks out there that thought there could be greater cost efficiency. And in fact, that's something that we've been maniacal here at Toby about, which has been, how do we drop the cost to produce the content and the services that we do provide to our customers with all the AI and whatnot tools that are available. So in this next slide, and again, what I'm trying to show everyone here is, you know, for these scaling, growing brands, you know, what are they making in terms of investments in marketing technology? And I'll talk about why marketing technology is so important when you're thinking about reducing waste. And this really interesting, when I saw that kind of the majority of the answers clumped in this kind of $1,000 to $10,000 a month range. Because it's fascinating. When I've talked to some of the growing and scaling brands out there, a lot of them are shocked about how much it costs to invest in some of the tools and technology that are needed to scale. But it's very, very difficult in order for you to prove ROI on all the marketing that you're doing if you don't have the right marketing technology in place. So, you know, if you're thinking about how to reduce waste, sometimes there needs to be a relatively large investment that's made in marketing technology so you can gain the efficiency that you need in your content operations, in your content publishing, really everything when it related to content, right? Next is video. So, you know, again, like these growing, scaling brands, you know, a lot of folks are mentioning that, look, we know that people love video, but like, am I wasting money on video if it's not getting views, right? And there's a lot of answers to that question about why your videos aren't getting views. But the point here is that you need to make an investment, right, in video in order for it to, and you need to test video frequently in order to figure out what really works, right? And, you know, as you can see here, you know, the majority of the respondents here are investing somewhere between $2,000 to $5,000 in video content. So that's just something, again, a benchmark for you all to be thinking about, where, hey, are you spending more or less in that video? And, you know, where does that sit with you in terms of where you think you're getting ROI? So now that we've kind of gone over a little bit of data on where people are making investments, in my opinion, areas that help them stop waste, and give you some benchmarks to think about some of the more efficient and scaling brands that are out there that are making the investments, you know, how do you actually do it, right? So if you feel like you're wasting, right? If you feel like, hey, I've hired an agency, but I'm not really sure like what I'm getting out of them, right? You might be saying, hey, I'm creating a bunch of videos, right? But I'm not really sure if I'm actually wasting money here, right? I think there's three kind of core items that you can be thinking about. And if you're a scaling kind of practice owner, a lot of you fit into sort of, you know, one or many of these sort of areas that you could be improving things on, right? So the first is like cover the basics, right? And so what are the basics? First off is brand and visual. You know, I mentioned earlier in this presentation that everything is a commodity these days, right? You know, recently, you know, there's this new AI model called DeepSeek that just came out. And the fascinating thing about it that I thought was really interesting was that its whole kind of messaging and branding was around this idea of efficiency, right? And even the kind of, the leader in the space, ChatGPT, was caught a little bit off guard. And so as all these, AI models and LLM models start to become more ubiquitous, right? It's even fascinating to see how they're starting to differentiate themselves even in their messaging. So if you're a practice owner, you do weight loss, right? You do aesthetics, you do Botox, you do all those sorts of things. All of you know that there's a ton of competition out there in your space. So the only way to fight against you becoming a commodity is to differentiate yourself through your messaging and your visual identity. It's how you stand out from a sea of weight loss, from a sea of, Botox clinics that are out there, right? So invest in building the right messaging, right? Which is coming up with a good brand story and making sure that brand story is reflected on your website and your socials, but also having a really solid visual identity. And a really good sort of, an easy way to create a visual identity is to use Canva. Use the Canva brand kit. Make sure that you have all the elements of the Canva brand kit filled out so that your designer, your copywriter, your social person, your admin who's creating your flyers, they're all using the same visual identity for your brand. And that Canva brand kit is really a logo with multiple different versions, multiple lockups of it or versions of it. It's your color palette. It's a bunch of different things that kind of give the foundation for some visual identity. If you want your content to stand out, then messaging and visual identity is the core of it. Second, technology. So technology, and we'll get a little bit deeper in technology after this slide, but it's investing in a CRM. It's having some basic marketing automation in place. And then in a more advanced way, it's making sure that your data gets integrated from your EMR into a HIPAA compliant CRM. Right? And then kind of tying all of this together is making sure that you've got a technology-enabled website that allows both your patients and your prospects to be able to engage with you in the manner that they need to. So whether that's booking an appointment, signing into a client portal, doing those types of things, those are all a big part of tying in the website into the different parts of the patient journey. Content. You can't communicate with people at scale without content on the internet. And really, content is about what is your SEO strategy, right? How are you localizing that content to your geography? But also, if you're telehealth, how are you building content that reaches people nationally, right, on topics that they may be searching for? And when I think of content, I always break down content into written content, blogs, captions for social medias, email, right? But then, more importantly, you also have video and other rich media that needs to be a part of your content strategy. We all know how important it is today to create video to be able to create authentic and engaging experiences with our prospects and patients. That's a very core strategy of content, right? And then how do you get that content out there, right? And that's really around the core channels with organic and paid marketing. So you have local SEO, you have content marketing, which is taking your content and trying to get it found via Google search on blog content and what we call longer tail keywords. And then you also have local paid media, right? Which is designing a paid search or a paid social program that really aligns with your local market and your local geography. So that's really the basics, right? If you want to stop wasting, you need to have these basics covered. I know as entrepreneurs, a lot of time we have this shiny new object syndrome. Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, that's a silver bullet that could get me the leads that I need. But the reality of it is, if you don't have these sort of four core components covered to your marketing, you shouldn't really be investing your time or energy anywhere else, right? Cover the basics first. There's so many times when I go in and do discovery with a growing and scaling brand where they want to run a paid campaign, but they haven't even optimized their website to drive traffic to it, right? So there's a lot of things that you have to think about. And the last part of all of this is wrapped up in this is, do you have the right team? Whether they're internal, whether they're a part-time agency, a part-time freelancer, whether they're a part-time employee, who is the right team to be able to help you across all four of these different areas? They all require slightly different skill sets. So if you don't have the right team to help you cover the basics, you're putting yourself at a big risk to be building off of an unstable foundation. So hire specialists if you're looking to make investments in these basics. And these are areas where I would invest extra dollars and I would go out and spend a little bit more than you're normally used to make sure that you have these core sort of foundational things covered. So the next thing I want to talk about when it comes to how to stop waste is a lot of times waste in marketing comes from content, investment in content and channels that don't convert, or we don't know if they converted, right? And so when we asked in our survey, what marketing activity do you find it hardest to measure ROI for? It's fascinating to see that paid media, paid search, lead generation, right? All of those, those were some of the biggest areas where people found it hard to measure ROI for. I thought this was shocking, to be honest with all of you. The reason why is that those are actually the easiest channels to be able to measure ROI for. And most of the time, in my experience in doing this over the last 15, 20 years, is that when you can't measure ROI on these channels, it's because you haven't invested in the right technology. And I'll give you a case study. I actually just, I met with a plastic surgeon who has a clinic on the East Coast. And he was telling me about his agency and how, he gets these reports from his agency every month on the paid search campaigns. They're running, really targeted paid search, right? So they're targeting things like rhinoplasty near me, tummy tuck or breast augmentation or breast reduction near me. So they're obviously like keywords for people who are looking for services directly related to what he provides, right? But he was like, but Andrew, I don't know how many calls I got from it or how many emails I got. All he can tell me was how much it cost for a click and how many click-throughs I got. And I'm like, well, that's one part of the funnel, right? To figure out how much traffic your ads were sending to your website. But it's a very basic thing to put some tagging in place through Google Tag Manager on your website to be able to tag specific elements of the funnel so that you can track ROI on those paid search campaigns. You can track how many people clicked on that submit button to fill out a contact form fill. You can actually track, if you're using things like CallRail or voice over IP solutions, how many call-ins you got from that specific ad. It's just about setting up the technology and the funnel in the right place, right? And a lot of times when I meet practice owners, they avoid a certain channel because they either, number one, don't know what that channel is doing for them. So they're like, I don't even care about it. Or number two, they're investing in a channel that they can't actually measure the results on, but they're afraid to pull back the spend because they're afraid that it's going to affect all of the inbound lead gen. And that's a really blind place to be working from. And it's an unnecessary place to be working from because we have very basic tools and very basic analytics to fix a lot of these things, right? So again, when we talked about this earlier, which is, how much are you budgeting for monthly tools and technology as a growing and scaling small business owner? Look, there's thousands of dollars a month invested in this stuff, right? On average, when I see a decent tech stack, it doesn't surprise me when it costs $1,000 to $5,000 to build a proper tech stack that's integrated with an EMR, that can track conversions, that can send automated emails and all those sorts of things. So the point here is that if you want to stop waste, sometimes you have to bite the bullet to make the investment in marketing technology. I'm working with a practice right now in Alaska that is making a huge kind of digital transformation because a lot of manual processes were sort of built over the years. And this practice owner actually invested in a lot of good marketing technology, but none of the tools were connected. There was no architecture to it. There was no strategy. There was no sort of figuring out how the data would all feed to each other, right? So that's just another example of an area where, hey, look, it might seem like it's a big investment, but the ROI that you can generate on it is going to be seen as you start to scale up your marketing. Another thing on marketing technology, especially as it applies to all of you practice owners out there. So if you're thinking about investing in marketing technology, there's some sort of basics that you might want to be thinking about, right? The first is the HIPAA compliant CRM that has some open API capabilities. The idea here is that if you have a HIPAA compliant CRM, you're going to be able to integrate your EMR or your EHR into your CRM so that they can share data. A really good example of a use case of this is, let's say that you just want to send an email from MailChimp or Constant Contact to all your patients, right? You don't want to mix your prospects and your patients. You just want to segment them out and send an email to your patients. A lot of times what has to happen is that they have to go onto Charm or Optimantra or Boulevard, download the patient list, upload the patient list into Constant Contact or MailChimp, and then send the email. And then if they want to send another one a week later, because they might have new patients or some turned out, they got to re-download that list and re-upload it. Now, if you're able to integrate your EMR with your CRM, that data can get passed back and forth so that you can just be emailing all your patients directly from your CRM, or if you prefer, some of the all-in-one tools that allow you to email and do the patient journey within the EMR, you can do that as well. So integrating this EMR and the patient journey using data is like a very sort of, I would call it like a basic advanced step. So once you're ready to step up to the next level, integrating data and banking systems talk to each other is sort of that next step that will help you reduce waste. The third is creating what I call automated but personalized, right? Personalized brand content. And it's a travesty because I'm on a lot of my clients' email lists, right? And a lot of times I have to send these emails to them to be like, hey, I think we're being a little bit too promotional in email content that we're putting out. And so a lot of you practitioners have a wealth of knowledge about health that a lot of people have questions on. And so my recommendation is create content that talks about challenges, problems, symptoms, case studies, and try to send that content to people your patients who you think it's relevant with, right? So if you've got a bunch of female weight loss patients that you think could be grouped together who might actually be good fits for a cross sell on, women's hormone therapy, right? Or women's hormone health, right? Create a bunch of branded content around, women's hormone health, and then automate that content via email campaigns to that segment of your list that might enjoy that content, right? And last but not least is this idea of integrating your marketing technology with other digital channels. So a lot of practice owners, I see that you have, systems like Podium, you have systems like Rhinogram, right? You use Go High Level, right? CallRail, all of these different digital channels have the ability to integrate with a modern kind of EMR and CRM. And as you start to see the integration with those other digital channels, it's not just there for growth, right? But it's also there to help make your practice more efficient in terms of operations. There's less messages that get missed. Follow-ups from patients and things like that don't get missed, right? And so integrating this with other digital channels not only helps you with growth, but it's also going to help you with practice and operations efficiency. So the other piece of this too is like, how much are some of these practice owners investing in freelancers or agencies? And I'll be honest, when I started to see some of the data and how much some of them are investing, $5,000 to $30,000, and then you couple that with that other survey question about cost efficiency with freelancers and agencies, I think actually, again, depending on what the freelancers or agencies are doing for them, this is a decent amount of budget to be spending with a freelancer or agency, right? For example, at Toby, what we've tried to do with AI, automation, and all these things that have happened in the marketing world is we've had to get more efficient and more effective, right? And what that means is that, what we used to charge for a typical $8,000 to $12,000 a month retainer, which actually fits pretty in line with that second bar there, we would charge $8,000 to $12,000 to do organic, to do paid, to do content marketing, right? But now we've been able to actually build that package to be more of a $4,000 to $5,000 package, right? So there's 2 points that I want to make here. One is that, look, if you're looking to grow and scale and you want to stop wasting, you have to hire experts. You have to hire the right freelancer. You have to hire the right agency. I will say that a lot of the practice owners feel like maybe they're paying too much for freelancers or agencies. And I think there's some truth to that when you look at what's happened, again, with AI automation, all those sorts of things. So, when you're thinking about growing and scaling, I wouldn't be afraid to be investing. If you haven't invested $5,000 a month or more in a freelancer or agency, this might be the time to do it, right? But be very careful about what you're spending them and making sure that you're getting the cost efficiency. Make sure that they can report back in results. Make sure that they can track ROI at different points of the funnel. And remember, ROI isn't just about revenue, right? You can get ROI at the top of the funnel, and a lot of times that can be a view or an impression or an audience built. Right. So again, you need to invest in outsourced resources when you're growing and scaling, but you want to make sure that you're getting cost efficiency out of them. Right. If you hire the right agency, if you hire the right freelancer and they're the right fit for you, you will absolutely stop wasting. And you'll see, every time you see a successful agency relationship, it's a very efficient and transparent relationship, right? So this is just, again, a benchmark for you all. But I do feel like for all of you who are kind of in that 1 to 5 million revenue range, sort of spending 5 to 10K a month on a freelancer or agency for like full service, organic, paid, and content marketing seems like a reasonable amount. Okay, so what does an actual good marketing team look like when you're not wasting? So you've got a team that can handle strategy and execution, right? They can design the organic campaigns. What are you targeting for local SEO? What kind of keywords are you going after for blogs and long tail? If you're going to do paid, like what are the right channels to invest in, right? Do we have the right conversion rate, and are we optimized for conversion rate to be able to do paid? And then obviously a lot of you practice owners do a lot of offline marketing activities. You partner with local gyms, you go to Chamber of Commerce meetings, right? You host podcasts and you're guests on podcasts and things like that. So who's going to handle the overall strategy of those different channels? And then more importantly, who's going to handle the execution? Right? And when it comes to execution, a lot of the execution comes in content. So you need to be creating video, social, blog, and obviously updating your website with that content consistently. A lot of times it's the founder that's doing a lot of the content, and they have an outsourced team to help them edit and create content. Right? And last but not least, we've talked a lot about technology. You need to have a technology piece to your marketing team. So this is about implementing the technology, but also maintaining the technology as it relates to your CRM, your website, and overall what we call marketing or revenue operations. So we're just coming to the tail of this presentation. Thanks for sticking with me. But on our next one, we're going to be actually talking about some tactics that we use at Toby to get more efficient media and marketing, right? And it's this idea of using this recycle and remix approach that we have. And it's taking this kind of one-to-many content mindset, SEO researching all of our pillar content, and then editing that content into micro content so you can generate interview segments, short form video, social media content, blog posts, and other website content from a single 1 hour interview, right? And when I talk about efficiency and the importance of being efficient to stop waste, this is one of the core strategies that a lot of you probably need to execute in order to more efficiently and consistently create better content. And for all of you that don't know us, Toby, we're a digital agency. And really what our mark is that we help small but mighty brands waste less and grow smarter. You've heard me talking about efficiency throughout this entire presentation. And the reason I say we live in an age of efficiency is because it's never been harder to get and keep new customers, right? You got to do more with less to improve your overall ROI from growth. And so what we do is we build AI-assisted, human-driven marketing and media solutions for brands that, need to punch above their weight. They're small but mighty brands, but they need to punch above their weight and grow more efficiently. So if you need any help with growing more efficiently, we've got some resources that are out there. In fact, we have an efficiency audit that you can scan that QR code answer a few questions, and we'll give you kind of an efficiency score on the spot. For all of you that are, planning your go-to-market campaigns quarter by quarter, we have a go-to-market template that has helped us immensely with efficiently planning campaigns for our clients. And then for all of you who are not watching this on YouTube, subscribe to us on YouTube at Toby Marketing and Media. That's the best place to get some of our content. And for those of you who are on LinkedIn who are watching this right now, you can scan that QR code to connect with me on LinkedIn and get some of my content there. So thanks again for your time today. This was a great presentation, and I hope to see you on the next one. Take care.